Hello, everybody. This is the Sports Group of Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. I am Nathan Schivins. It is Monday. We got a lot to get into today. Very excited. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Like I said, a lot to get into. The Steelers played yesterday, the Browns, and they kind of cruised to a victory. I'm going to be talking about that. Also going to be going throughout the league in the NFL, discussing a little bit about what happened this weekend and specifically on Sunday in the NFL. Also going to get into Pitt's victory over Florida State, a really huge victory for Pitt and their longer-term aspirations for this season. Also going to get into the brutal Penn State loss again and then just the terrible Drew Aller injury. And obviously the big news that came out yesterday of James Franklin's firing. Also going to talk about a little bit more about college football. And MLB playoffs are going on right now, and there have been some crazy games, some crazy series. So we're going to get into all of that as it's Dodgers, Brewers, and Mariners, Blue Jays in the NL and ALCSs. Once again, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was a busy weekend for me. Got a lot done and did some fun stuff. But I want to jump right in talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, who grabbed a 23-9 victory over the Cleveland Browns. Game kind of went how you would hope if you're a Steeler fan, I think, for the most part. Browns coming into this game had one of the best defenses in the NFL. You figured the Steelers wouldn't be crazy potent offensively. They really haven't all season for the most part, but especially in this game, you didn't think that would be the case. But you thought, hey, the Browns have a good defense. If it stays low scoring, the Browns could stay in this, and this could be a bit of an issue for the Steelers. But to everybody's credit, it was a little bit sloppy in the first half for sure. Ended up being 9-3 at halftime. In the second half, the Steelers were able to turn those field goals into touchdowns. Rodgers, he didn't throw the ball down the field like crazy in this game, obviously. I think he had like the one down the field throw, and it was way underthrown to DK Metcalf, who had a step on the corner, who on the broadcast they were hyping up, like, oh, this corner on DK Metcalf, he could slow him down today, and he really didn't. DK got whatever he wanted for the most part. But speaking of DK, he looked really good in this game. Obviously, he got another touchdown. That's what you got to do. You got to target DK 10 times at least a game. That's my perspective on it. You brought him in. You traded for him. You paid a bunch of money to him long term. He's got to be your guy. And I love what I'm seeing there. Aaron's just playing really good right now. He's playing really solid. I wonder where Pro Football Focus is going to rank him this week. He was dead last in the NFL behind everybody, including Jake Browning, including some of these guys, Joe Flacco, including some of these, Cam Ward, who I like but hasn't played well at all. Just a very disrespectful ranking that really puts into credence should Pro Football Focus really be taken very seriously. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is doing what any Steeler fan I think would hoped. He's not going to be prime Aaron Rodgers. It's not the case. Whether it's mobility, whether it's even arm strength, although he's still got it. But his mind is still there. It's actually, better and better. I think it's getting, as he gets older and has more years in the league, he gains more perspective and everything. And being 41, he's been in the league for a very long time. And the numbers, again, don't jump out at you. They aren't crazy. 21-30 for 235 yards and a couple touchdowns. But he didn't get sacked once, and a lot of that goes to him. He was in the pocket, being very elusive in this game. On the touchdown to Connor Hayward, he scrambled around, got outside the pocket, and was able to get the ball to Connor Hayward, who was the second catch of the season. I was shocked that Connor Hayward was in the game there and made that play, but all credit to him there. But Aaron, that was just a great job, and he did a couple of those plays. He scrambled around the pocket, got outside the pocket, and kind of flipped it for a first down. I can't remember who caught that, but it was just some vintage Aaron Rodgers during this game, and just a lot of game managing, but when people say game managing, they use it a lot in a disrespectful way. Like, oh, he's just a game manager. No, Aaron Rodgers and anybody who you call game manager is more than just, oh, they just get it to their players and let them do. I mean, he was avoiding sacks. He did a great job of that. The O-line, you got to give a bunch of credit. 0 sacks in this game. And you hope to, against Myles Garrett, I mean, who's just been incredible this season. He's been incredible in his career. And you got to give a major props to Broderick Jones. Great job, Broderick Jones, who's just gotten markedly better week after week this season. It's great to see, honestly. And I think this line is getting better. Obviously, against Minnesota, it looked really good, really promising. And this week, yesterday, against the Browns, I mean, it just did a tremendous job. And I would have figured for sure Myles Garrett would have got a tackle for loss or a sack at least, but he didn't get anything. He was credited for like 2 tackles and a pressure. He was not getting really anything going, and that's a big credit to Broderick Jones and to the other O-linemen and to Darnell Washington blocking a little bit as well. Darnell Washington had a great game in the passing game. He's such a weapon, and I think Aaron Rodgers knows that and appreciates that, and they've been getting it. They made a concerted effort to get him the ball more the past few weeks. So, and then the defense did what they probably should have, but I mean, it was just tremendous. 6 sacks, constant pressure on Dylan Gabriel, who threw it 52 times for 221 yards, which is a lot of throws. It's just over 4 yards per attempt, which is not good for a quarterback, really good for a defense. And I can't say enough about the Steelers' defense in this game, holding the Browns to 3. Now, the Browns' offense isn't good, we know that, but they never really had a chance, it felt like, especially when the Steelers get that first touchdown to extend the lead 16-3. You're thinking, I don't know if the Browns can get into the end zone. I mean, this defense, it was all healthy. Alex Highsmith coming back. We got to talk about Nick Herbig. 4.5 sacks already. He's been incredible, and something got to be said about the Steelers' ability to develop these edge rushers. It's just like clockwork. And Nick Herbig, he looks, I mean, you just watch him, and he just looks different. He jumps off the screen. He is everywhere. He's flying around. T.J. Watt's doing his thing. Alex Highsmith coming back did a nice job. Everybody did a nice. Jalen Ramsey with 2 sacks. I mean, that's crazy. Jalen Ramsey was excellent. We didn't know if he was going to play for sure or not. He was definitely questionable, playing through some stuff. But just all around, a really solid performance in a game that people are saying, don't not take this Browns team seriously. You got to win these games. You got to get up for this game and perform like you would any other game. And the Steelers did, I think they did a nice job. All credit goes to the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. It was a good job. Mike Tomlin off a bye is almost automatic for all my criticisms of him. And I think he did a good job in this game. And now it's on to Cincinnati. The Steelers going to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, who gave a scare to the Packers yesterday for a while. It's Joe Flacco in Cincinnati. And actually this morning Mike Tomlin had some harsh words to say to Browns general manager Andrew Berry about trading Joe Flacco in division to a team with a position of need. And I kind of understand his point. I kind of like that from Mike Tomlin. He's cooking right now. He's feeling it a little bit. He's feeling good about his team. And kind of say, I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, I was kind of shocked that was who the Bengals got, and obviously who they got it from, an in-division opponent, because the Browns knew that would be the starter for the Bengals. But in the end, like it's not going to be very consequential, I don't think, for either team. I don't think either team is going very far at all this season. But it is kind of weird. It's kind of a taboo thing, trading in division, no matter what league you're in, whether it's baseball or football or hockey. It's kind of something you don't really want to make a habit out of doing. So that was interesting there, Mike Tomlin. But the Steelers, they got to get up for this one as well. They're 5.5, 6-point favorites right now on the road in Cincinnati. But the Bengals are still playing hard. They're still fighting, and you got to bring your A game. Or I don't know if every team, every game brings their A game, but at least your B plus game will be fine. But just get out of Cincinnati with a win, 5-1, But you'd like to see against the Cincinnati defense some Steelers offensive explosivity. Whether that's getting it to DK Metcalf a lot, I don't know if Calvin Austin's going to play. I doubt it. Not playing on Sunday and then having a short week, I doubt that would be the case. But I would like to see them just target see what we got with Roman Wilson. I mean, he caught the one pass yesterday. What do we got here with Roman Wilson? And I would like to see more Darnell. I'd like to see more of Pat Freiermuth a little bit. I think he only had the one reception yesterday. Just spreading the wealth a little bit. And let's see this run game really go off, too. I think Warren did pretty good yesterday as well, coming back. He had some really nice runs. He does that. He's just a very shifty back. So all credit there to the Steelers. And people are saying, oh, I saw Dan Orlovsky saying that the Steelers tape is not good, this offensive tape. And I was like, they're playing a very, very good defense in the Cleveland Browns defense with an elite edge rusher. They were able to contain him offensively on the line. Aaron was looking good, spreading the ball around, mobility in the pocket was pretty solid, getting outside the pocket, making plays. The run game was pretty effective. I don't see that, and I wouldn't expect anything more than what I saw from the Steelers in this game offensively. They passed for 235. I said with Rodgers. Jalen Moore in 11 carries for 52 yards. I mean, you'll take that. They didn't. Could they have carried more? Maybe, but they ran 58 plays, and it was like half and half run and pass. So I don't know. They got Caleb Johnson involved. I'd like to see Caleb Johnson continue to get involved this season. I know people are down on him, but you drafted him in the third round. You gotta play him, and he got 6 carries for 15 yards. I like to see Jonnu Smith being used a little more. That would be one of my biggest things because I think he's very versatile. You brought him in a big trade in the offseason, and he gets a carry today, and he got 3 receptions for 18 yards in the passing game. So I like to see a little bit more of the ball going to Jonnu Smith. He's not your prototypical tight end. He's a speedster a little bit for a tight end, and I think he represents some unique challenges for a defense. So I'd like to see him get a little bit more involved. Now maybe they're kind of rolling back the playbook a little bit for some of the bigger games which are coming up. I mean, Green Bay's coming up, the Colts are coming up, the Bills are coming up. So there's obviously a lot of tough games remaining for the Steelers. But you look now and they're 4-1. You'd think they got to be 5-1 after this Thursday night game. You got to be 5-1. The Ravens are 1-5. The Bengals are 2-4, and they would be 2-5 if you beat them. And the Browns are hopeless, 1-5. They're not going anywhere. But got to be 5-1 for the stretch run. And if you take care of business in some of these games and you win some bigger games down the stretch here, you're going to win the division fairly easily. Now, Baltimore is obviously the wild card because if Lamar comes back, if they get healthy, I said in the offseason, I think a lot of people did, that they're the most talented team in football. But you see, especially defensively, the losses of all those players is just massive for that team. They're just not the same at all. They're just a complete shell of themselves without them, especially when you don't have Lamar as well. It's just very tough for the Ravens. So there's still a chance for the Ravens. And their schedule isn't terrible after the bye here. They have a bye after losing 17-3 of the Rams. So I mean, if you're the Steelers, you gotta take care of business. You gotta win some games. More importantly, you want to win playoff games. You want to host a playoff game this year. But you want to win playoff games. And you got to beat some of the better teams in football as well going forward. You're not going to do that playing the Browns and the Bengals. I understand that. But I'm looking at the next month and a half, 2 months. Can the Steelers win some of these games against the best of the best? Can they win against Buffalo at home? I mean, a lot of these games are at home. Buffalo at home. You got the Packers at home, Indianapolis, who's one of the better teams of football now. It's confirmed. So can they do that? And can they win at the Chargers, which will be a bona fide home game for the Steelers other than the travel? So it's going to be very interesting. I'm hopeful that that's the case. The defense each week has gotten better and better. I think the offense has gotten better and better each week. They're as healthy as they've been since the season started. Hopefully Calvin Austin comes back soon, but I like what I'm seeing from the Steelers, so good stuff there. Want to go through the rest of the NFL. We have breaking news, actually, that the Tennessee Titans fired Brian Callahan, the head coach, after a 1-5 start. He was 4-19 with the Titans. I mean, they were just abysmal last season, and this season they've not done anything at all offensively. I had questions as to whether he was the guy, but he's had a terrible roster. He's been dealt a terrible hand. Cam Ward has really nobody to throw to outside of Calvin Ridley. There's a lot of no-name play, and this defense is not good. And I thought it would be like okay. So, what are you going to say? But again, this is a results-based business in the NFL. So Brian Callahan fired in Tennessee. We're going to get to another firing at the college level in a little bit. But as for some of the games this week, Broncos did not look good at all. They brought a poor effort against the Jets. The Jets almost won with -10 passing yards. They can't be having that for the Broncos, but they get the win nonetheless. Chargers don't look great right now. This defense doesn't look tremendous like it did to start the year and like it did last year. Cause for concern a little bit, I think, for the Chargers, who eke out a win, have to kick a field goal late in the game against Miami. Patriots offense looks good. We're thinking, could this be a kind of trap game? The Saints get their first win. They've been playing better. They haven't played terrible all season, really, the Saints. But the Patriots offense early was really good, and they hold on to win. They're 4-2. Like I said, the Rams just took care of the Ravens. Didn't have the best effort. The Rams, I'm kind of concerned with how they're playing right now. They lost at home to the Niners with everybody hurt. It was 3-3 at halftime, and then the Rams got a couple tough. But I think the Ravens almost outgained the Rams. Let me see here. I think it was pretty close, the yard total. The Ravens outgained the Rams 296 to 241. 19 first downs to 15. And ran way more plays. So it was just a weird game. I didn't get any eyes on that one. But the Rams win. Colts sneak out a win against the Cardinals. The Cardinals were playing well in this game. I like the Cardinals. They're just very fluky. It's just weird with them. But the Colts hang on. They're 5-1. The Seahawks win at the Jaguars. This was my lock of the week on the We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports Podcast. I'm a part of that with Jake Bell and Peyton Celesti. Make sure you check that out on YouTube. That was my lock of the week, and the Seahawks get it done. The Panthers beat the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys were thinking their defense was getting better. They give up 30 to the Panthers and they end up losing that game. That's a tough loss for Dallas, who had a lot of momentum. But good for them. I mean, the Panthers are 3-3 now. I mean, look out. No, I don't think they're any good, really. I think they're a 7-win team. But this is a good couple weeks for the Panthers. The Raiders get a win. They beat the Titans 20-10. They kind of dominated that game. It was kind of just a snooze fest because the Titans just don't have anything, and there seems like there's no energy or anything. So big reason probably why Brian Callahan was fired. But good win for Pete Carroll. Raiders get to 2-4. Bucks kind of messed around with the injury-ravaged Niners, but they in the end were able to win 30-19. Got a couple interceptions of Mac Jones. Packers kind of messed around with the Bengals, but they were able to hold on for a 27-18 win. Bengals, obviously, Steelers play them on Thursday night. And the Chiefs beat the Lions. A good showing by the Chiefs as well. They beat the Lions. They go to 3-3. Lions just didn't play well. Their whole secondary was out, so you kind of understand that. And then the Eagles lost to the Giants, which is crazy. Eagles have some major concerns, so that's something to look out for going forward, as they're now 4-2. So that's the NFL. Obviously tonight, Bills, Falcons, Bears, Commanders. We'll see how those games go. I'll maybe recap them next week. But coming up on the other side, I will talk about Pitt football and Penn State firing James Franklin. Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins on WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Thank you for tuning in. Still a ton to talk about. In this show, we got to talk about Pitt with a massive victory over Florida State, 34-31 in Tallahassee at Doak Campbell Stadium. A lot of angles to look at this game from. Pitt moves to 4-2 with this victory, and Mason Heinschel looks like the guy. We saw the first game against Boston College where he was a little shaky. He was not shaky at all. He was not shaky at all. I don't mean to say a little shaky. He was a little shaky at times in the Florida State game. He was not shaky at all against Boston College. He was tremendous, actually. I was there at that game, and the whip on his passes was tremendous. He was making great decisions. He was throwing the ball out of bounds. There were only one or two plays where it was like, maybe you should have just thrown that one away or whatever. But for the most part, he was tremendous. But it was against Boston College, who looks like one of, if not the worst team in the ACC this season. It's a different animal going on the road to Florida State, one of the bigger brands in the ACC. And a team that was still ranked at 25th in the top 25 and who beat Alabama. Now, the Florida State team of now is not at all what it was in that first game. And I think the Alabama team in that first game is not at all what they are now. They're much better. But it's still a daunting opponent. You're on the road in a tough environment, although it being a noon start, I think, helped. And also coming off Florida State's loss to Miami at home, they kind of took the air out of the balloon, for lack of a better term. But Mason Heinschel looked pretty good early. That first drive, Pat Narduzzi, I think he coached really well outside of the end of the first half, the 2-minute kind of situation. I don't think he uses timeouts correctly, but Narduzzi, got to give him credit, going for it on fourth down 3 times on that first drive. Mason Heinschel scrambles. It gets the 4th and 1 from their own 34, from Pitt's 34. And Narduzzi goes for it, and Heinschel is able to pick it up on a nice play, passing to Des Reed, who was tremendous in this game, like he always is when he's playing and healthy. That second 4th down, I think they were inside the 30, and Heinschel keeps himself and runs it for a couple yards for the first down. And then the third one, they call it timeout. They give it to Deuce Spann, the former Florida State Seminole. They give it to him in the Wildcat, and he runs it for about 1.5 yards to barely pick up the first down. But it was just that just kind of set the tone of that drive. You needed a touchdown in that drive, and Pitt was able to get it. Getting it to Jakarian Turner, I think it was 10. I think it was 1st and goal from the 10. Or something like that. And he went all the way in. He broke a couple tackles. Florida State did not tackle at times well at all against Pitt. Florida State's defense was not good against Pitt at all. And Jakarian Turner looks really good. He's smaller, but he has speed, and he's harder to tackle. He's a tough runner, and he's looked really good so far as a true freshman. It's been really impressive. And he gets that rushing touchdown. Florida State benefits from the pass interference call next drive. They get their touchdown at 7-7. And then Pitt goes right back to it. Heinschel to Des Reed, and they keep the drive going. Heinschel to Des Reed for the touchdown, a very nice throw, 14-7. But then at the end of the first half, just a calamity of errors. Florida State gets a touchdown. It's 14-14. And then Mason Heinschel throws that pick. And I don't really fault him. It was 3rd down. He was trying to make a play. I would advise against it, but it was going to be if the pass was incomplete, it was going to be 4th down. They would have punted it anyway. Florida State was pinned inside their own 20. They were able to get a touchdown, and that touchdown was such a fluky touchdown. And I was really critical of Tamon Lynham. He literally, it's the end of the half. Pitt's trying to prevent Florida State from getting a touchdown because Florida State gets the ball started the second half. And Castellanos evades the pressure and just kind of heaves it into the end zone. And there's Lynham, he could just run in front of that and intercept that. It would have been so easy. Instead, he just waits back on it and lets the receiver go up and get it for a touchdown. I thought that was so weak. I didn't really see him. I was saying he should be benched, honestly, for that. That's just was a lack of effort there and will to make a play. but I don't know if he was. I don't remember seeing him too much in the game after that, honestly. But Florida State takes a 21-14 lead off that, and you're thinking, oh boy, this is not good. Pitt blocks the punt. I think this was before that, actually. They block the punt, and they get the ball inside the red zone, and Heinschel just makes a terrible interception in a drive where you could have went up 17-14. If you just throw it out of bounds, you're up 17-14, probably going into the half. And I thought that would have been consequential because Florida State got the ball to start the second half. But this Pitt defense in the second half really performed well. They stopped them. I think it was a 3-and-out on the first drive. They had a few 3-and-outs. The defense forced on Florida State. And Nathan Schivins continued. He looked unfazed by those interceptions. Kept getting it to Des Reed. Des Reed in open space is impossible to catch up to. He's so fast and elusive. And he was able to catch these like 6-yard passes and take them 45, 50 yards. Poppy Williams had several really important catches in this game. Kenny Johnson had one, really, I think it was a third down in the game, and he was able to take it like 40 yards down to the Florida State 25. It was just, I'd love to see him get the ball more like he did last week. Keep feeding Kenny Johnson, and good things will happen. But, yeah, I mean, Pitt, it looks undeterred. They get the touchdown. It's 21-21. Florida State gets a field goal. It's 24-21. Pitt ties that to make it 24-24, and then they kick a field goal, make it 27-24. And this defense throughout just continued to play well, forcing Florida State to punt. And the offense kept scoring, kept getting scoring drives. We'd like to see some more touchdowns, but those two field goals, you gotta get some scores. And Trey Bukowski was very good as well. And then obviously, Pitt's trying to run the clock out at the end. They're up by 3. Heinschel is running. I think it was a third down. I can't remember, but it was a first down conversion. He was running up the field, and the ball gets punched out of his hands, his reach, and it's bobbling around. It's fumbling around on the turf or the grass. I think it was a grass field. And Ja'Carrion Turner bounces right up to him, and he runs over and recovers the fumble and gets down. I think it was a huge play because if Florida State gets the ball back, they're only down 3 with some pretty good field advantage. So that was big, and Pitt ends up getting the touchdown. Ja'Carrion Turner, I don't know if Florida State intentionally let him score or not, but he kind of ran in untouched for another touchdown. Pitt's up 34-24, and you're thinking, wow, they got this win in the bag and everything. But I honestly didn't think that. I was like, there's still a lot of time left, and this is Pitt here. They could screw it up. And they give up that long touchdown pass, and it's quickly 34-31. But they recover the onside kick and take a knee and end the game. So, really huge win for Pitt. I thought Cade Bell called a pretty good game for the most part. I don't understand these aggressive throws with a freshman quarterback in the red zone like that. I understand this is a game that's a game where you want to get touchdowns instead of field goals, but you can't put the ball in harm's way like that in some of those situations. So, other than that, I thought Mason Heinschel, I think he runs a little bit too much, but other than that, I think he's been excellent. He's just been everything he asked for and more. And this puts Pitt at 4-2 and 2-1 in the ACC. And I mean, very much alive, it feels like, for a potential spot in the ACC championship. It's wide open for that second spot. I'm not saying Pitt's the favorites. In fact, they're not. They'd have to honestly win out or only lose one more conference game. But everything's in front of them, and they're playing like one of the best teams in the ACC right now. I think they're playing better than Florida State. They just beat them in their place. I think they're better than Virginia, especially defensively. I think Mason Heinschel's been a better quarterback than Chandler Morris. I think they're better than Duke as well. And I think Georgia Tech's very beatable, especially when Pitt goes to Atlanta to play them later in the season. Pitt's formula is stopping the run defensively. They're one of the best at doing it. And Georgia Tech is a team that, similar to Florida State, is a heavy run team. I think Georgia Tech is very beatable as well. I think that's a game Pitt could easily compete in and win as well. So now the big kind of old sleeping giant is Clemson. Now I know they got 2 ACC losses already, but they could easily run the table and make it to the ACC championship still. I honestly believe that. They're pummeling North Carolina. They're pummeling Boston College. Obviously, Pitt did that as well, but I'm just saying, like, Clemson, they got some tough games. They play SMU. They play Florida State. So it's not completely cupcake schedule, but they should be favoring those games. They should honestly win those games. And they could be a dark horse if everybody has, like, 2 losses in conference play other than Miami. I don't know how the tiebreaker works in that scenario, but Clemson cannot be slept on right now in an ACC that has a lot of very mediocre to bad teams, honestly. So for Pitt, they got at Syracuse coming up. They play at home against NC State. They play at Stanford. You got to go 3-0 in those games, point blank. For any, just you got to. You're better than all 3 of those teams fairly significantly. They're heavy favorites at Syracuse this week. You gotta win, honestly. There's no excuses. So if they take care of business and everything in these 3 games, then everything's in front of them late in the season for something going on. I mean, but it was just a great performance. I think the defense too, like, you got to give so much credit to that line. Zach Crothers was out. He's going to be out for the season. Blaine Spires was out. Joey Zielinski's out. These are edge rushers that have been the core of your team that you brought in the transfer portal. Isaiah Neal gets moved to defensive end because there's so many injuries. And I thought the line held up really well. You knew Florida State was going to get theirs rushing the ball. They got, I think, 170 or 190 or something. But this is a team that averages 295 rushing yards a game. So to hold them to 170 running the ball, and I think they did a great job on Castellanos. He didn't have any big runs at all. That was the key to the game. You got to give major props to that D-line, which was significantly hampered by injuries. They more than held their own against really big Florida State running backs and tough and physical backs. So got to give credit there. I got to talk about Penn State. They lose to Northwestern at home. Many were saying, well, they're not going to lose at home to Northwestern. Well, they did. And, I mean, I don't know if the team quit, but they were just downtrodden, no doubt, after that loss to UCLA. And it's just a terrible situation. And they're 3-3. People are saying they're at a crossroads. And this was supposed to be the year they go compete for a national championship for real. And they're not going to be doing that. Obviously, they have 3 losses now, and 2 of them are absolutely brutal. So there's no chance they make the playoff. And James Franklin gets fired the next day. And I have some big thoughts on this. I personally, I don't understand why they fired James Franklin. I know everybody's saying you got to fire James Franklin. This program is, look at what's going on. This is ridiculous. We hold Penn State football to a much higher standard. But it's like, do we not remember James Franklin took your team to the national semifinal just last season and was 1 play away from going to the national championship game? We forget in college so quickly. Everything needs to be, you got to be winning now. This team's issues, this program's issues extend far beyond James Franklin. And I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a Penn State fan. But I just thought it was just crazy to fire him, to pay $50 million plus to James Franklin for him to go away. A coach that won over 100 games with your program, who consistently got you to 11-3, 10-2, college football playoffs the past couple years. I don't understand it. And the thing is, that money in the era of NIL needs to be used for NIL. You can't be firing your coaches and use up all that money. Where's your money going to come from to pay your players now? It's just I'm kind of dumbfounded by the decision. I thought if they did it, they'd wait till the end of the season. What do you gain from firing him now? It's a lost season. What do you gain from firing him now? And who's to say, by the way, these coaches, like, well, with the expectation of Penn State or national championships, who's to say the next coach or a coach out there is going to do a better job than James Franklin did at Penn State and is going to take you to the national championship? I'm hearing Matt Rule. Has Matt Rule ever taken a team close to a national championship? He's built up programs. He built up Temple. He built up Baylor. He's trying to build up Nebraska. But he's never taken anybody to the playoffs and won national championships. I don't understand it. I don't know who's out there. Nick Saban's not walking through those doors. I don't see coaches out there who are significantly better than James Franklin to take you to the next level. Now, I do think they need to take it to the next level, obviously. I do think James Franklin had his faults. He wasn't a top 5 coach. That's for sure. But he wasn't a scrub. He wasn't terrible. I'm shocked by this. For a program like Penn State, spending $50 million plus for their coach to go away, we're gonna go, if they hire Matt Rule, nobody can look at anybody with a straight face and say Matt Rule has done more than James Franklin's done as a head coach. You can't say that. And Matt Rule is a disaster in the NFL as well. I don't know who they're looking at who could be that much better than James Franklin. I mean, Penn State is perennially a top 10 program in college football. Could it just be the case that they're not on the level of Ohio State and could never be? The Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Clemsons of 5 years ago? I don't know, but I don't think you reach that or reach anywhere close to that. In fact, I don't know if you reach where you've been under Franklin with the new head coach. You used to say it's not going to be a disaster, your new coaching hire. So many coaches are being fired now, and it's just shocking to me in this age of NIL, paying coaches to go away and thinking there's a massive light at the end of the tunnel with a new coach. I don't see it. I really don't. What are you going to bring? You're going to bring in Urban Meyer? Like, who are you going to bring in if you're Penn State that you think is substantively going to take your program to higher levels that James Franklin did? James Franklin literally just had you a play away from the national championship game. Man, I just don't understand it. It's not going to get better this year for Penn State. And they're losing so many recruits now. They had a nice recruiting class coming, especially WPPJ players. And that's going away now. I mean, Matt Sieg, the Fort Cherry quarterback, he's going elsewhere, or he's opening up his recruitment. The Pine Richland, like Khalil Taylor is his name, player from Pine Richland, he's decommitting. I saw a linebacker decommitted and is opening up the recruitment again. This looks like a rebuild now, firing your coach like that. So I don't understand it. And I think Penn State fans are going to look back years down the road and said, were we a little too quick with firing James Franklin? I mean, these programs, North Carolina, they fired Mac Brown and they hired Bill Belichick. How's that working out? I mean, they're case after case. Florida fires Dan Mullen. How's that working out now? Florida's, 2-4, and they're looking to fire their coach again because he hasn't been good. But what if Dan Mullen was still there? You never know. So I don't know. I really don't know what to make of what Penn State's doing here. I don't see what they're seeing, the vision that they see for themselves and their program, because this just looks like a rebuild, like a miserable season this season, and a rebuilding season at least for next season as well. I don't know, man. I don't know. And James Franklin did so much for that program. And we harp on the big game James moniker and everything and how he was abysmal against the best teams. But, who's to say the coach you bring in is even going to be in these big games because the team's any good? So, I don't know. I do have a feeling that we're going to look back and we're going to say Penn State thought they could pull a rabbit out of the hat here and get a coach that was a national championship caliber coach and get rid of a complete program stabilizer, not only a stabilizer who had your team competing with the best of the best year after year. And did they not win in the big games for the most part? No, they didn't. But are they going to get to the big games under their next coach, whoever that may be? So I just don't. If they hire Matt Rule, it's like at best this is a lateral move. And James Franklin's done more than Matt Rule has in college. He just has. Matt Campbell at Iowa State, I think, would be a good candidate. I mean, he's somebody who's run an Iowa State program that was not good, has not been historically good, and he's really done really well with that team. I think Alex Golish at South Florida is a candidate, although he sees at South Florida, and there's kind of questions of he hasn't coached Power 4 football, I guess. But I mean, who are you looking at? Is there inside information that Penn State boosters and the athletic administration has with Urban Meyer, with somebody of that caliber who's won national championships? Is Nick Saban actually coming out of retirement to coach Penn State? I don't see that happening at all. And would Urban Meyer coach at Penn State after his really successful run at Ohio State? I don't see that at all either, obviously. So I don't like this move for Penn State at all. I was talking to some people, at Point Park, and they were saying, no, this is a great move. The Penn State had to do this. Did they have to do this? I really don't understand that at all. So that's all I'll say about that for now. And there'll be more stuff coming in. But, I mean, paying $50 million to fire a head coach who consistently won you 10, 11 games a season is kind of crazy to me. So we're going to take a break. On the other side, I'm going to talk a little more college football, and we're going to get into the MLB playoffs action. Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins on WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. So I want to look at some of the college football games just briefly, some of the bigger games of the weekend. Other than the two I detailed, South Florida with a big win over North Texas, 63-36, and they're looking like the favorite to be the representative out of the group of five right now. Their offense has been incredible. Well, that's a resounding win over an undefeated North Texas team going in. Iowa just pummeled Wisconsin. I mean, you could hear in the next week or two Luke Fickell's name being mentioned as being fired because this is just really bad. This is awful. I mean, you can't lose. You lost 37-0 to Iowa. I mean, that's so hard to do for a program that prides itself on having a great defense. Giving up 37 to Iowa, and I know their offense, they just had terrible luck with their quarterback health. Their quarterbacks have gotten hurt early in the season, then what are you going to do? But just terrible performance by Wisconsin, who's looking like a 2 or 3 win team right now. Ohio State pummeled Illinois. Illinois outgained Ohio State, but they turned it over in the red zone. Ohio State capitalized. Ohio State's looking really good right now, particularly defensively. They look like the best defense in college football. They're elite. I think them and Miami are the best teams in college football, though. We're going to talk about Indiana. Indiana had a massive, massive victory over Oregon, 30-20 on the road in Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. And just a gutsy performance. Indiana was just a better team, and they didn't quit. They didn't stun, and they gave up a pick six, too. This could have been even a larger margin of victory. That's a huge win for Indiana. And that's a team where, are we looking now, Ohio State, Indiana is the Big Ten championship already. I mean, we could be headed that direction. So, huge win for Indiana. Congrats to Kurt Cignetti and those guys. Ole Miss holds off Washington State. They're obviously looking ahead. They play at Georgia next week. That'll be a big game. But Ole Miss survives and advances. A&M beats Florida 34-17. They're looking really good. Texas beats Oklahoma. John Mateer tried to play. He just didn't look right. Decision-making was not good at all. You wonder how much practice he had. It was a must-win game for Texas to keep their playoff hopes alive. Arch Manning was okay. He's like getting slowly a little bit better each week. And he did all right in this game. And so Texas gets the job done in the Red River Shootout. Alabama beats Missouri. Alabama was up 17-7 on Missouri, and then Missouri quickly in the second half came back and tied it. And Alabama holds on, intercepting Bo Pribula a couple times. Missouri's a good football team. I think that's obvious. And Alabama looks really good now. It looks like them. If Ryan Williams plays well, and if Jam Miller can get it into another gear, this Alabama team could compete certainly with Miami and Ohio State and those kind of teams. Texas Tech looks like the clear Big 12 favorite. They destroy Kansas 42-17. Their offense is really good, and their defensive line is tremendous. They went out heavy in the portal and brought in a lot of really good players. Texas Tech looks like the head and shoulders favorite in the Big 12. Georgia did not look good against Auburn. They went 20-10. There was some it was kind of a ref show. There were some calls that went in Georgia's favor. But, I mean, neither team honestly deserved to win this game. But Georgia was, I guess, the slightly better team. Auburn, they have a really good roster. They missed on the quarterback again. Jackson Arnold is not that guy. LSU's offense continues to struggle. They win 20-10 against hapless South Carolina. LSU's got some big games coming up. They play at Vandy this weekend, and I think Vandy's going to win that game as well. I mean, you can't trust this offense for LSU, especially on the road. I mean, they're bad at home. On the road, against a Vandy team that's held their own. Tennessee holds on against Arkansas, another kind of look-ahead spot. Georgia Tech beats Virginia Tech 35-20. Michigan falls at USC. Impressive win by USC and Lincoln Riley. They completely outplayed Michigan. Notre Dame handled NC State. That game was close at halftime, but Notre Dame pulled away. BYU, I still think they're frauds. They're 6-0, but they barely beat Arizona, and Arizona outplayed them for much of the game. I don't think they're better than Utah even, which the teams play each other at BYU this weekend, and I don't know if they're better than Cincinnati even. So I don't think BYU's for real. Just like kind of last year, Utah, they obviously destroyed Arizona State with their backup quarterback, and Iowa State falls to Colorado, so they're unranked now. So those are kind of the big kind of ranked games that happen this week. And again, we'll get some big SEC matchups next week as well. As I mentioned, Vanderbilt, LSU. You're looking at Ole Miss and Georgia. I mean, there's some really nice games next week that will determine a lot in the SEC, which is just cannibalizing itself because all these teams are very similar. I want to close out with MLB, with the playoffs. I don't know if you knew this, the playoffs are going on, and I'm talking about in the last segment of the show. But it's been very interesting, these playoffs. I want to get into I'm going to start with the Mariners and the Tigers series. What a game, that 15-inning game. The Mariners eke out that win. That was just a really good series. I think those teams are evenly matched. I think the Tigers just had a crazy bad fall from grace the last couple weeks of the season. I don't even know what happened, but they held it. They held their own with the Mariners throughout this series. Kerry Carpenter was excellent. Riley Green really wasn't, and Spencer Torkelson wasn't really either. And you need those guys to step up in this kind of series. And for the Mariners, Jorge Polanco was really good. Cal Raleigh had some big homers. Suarez came through with some, but their offense was kind of non-existent for a lot of the game. And we'll see how the Mariners, obviously the Mariners beat the Blue Jays in Game 1 already. We'll see if that continues. I mean, they're getting Brian Wu back. Their pitching is second to none of the teams remaining for sure. And so we'll see if the Mariners can get enough offense consistently throughout these playoffs to compete and win a World Series. So good for the Mariners, good for Seattle. Brewers beat the Cubs 3-1 in that Game 5. A lot of Game 5s here. And the Brewers just had a little more. Andrew Vaughn hits a homer, Bryce Terang homers in that game. The Cubs play well at home. The Brewers played well at home, and that's kind of how it ended. It'll be interesting. Can the Brewers get enough offense to compete with the Dodgers in that series? And can Freddie Peralta step up? can Jacob Mizorowski be the all-star that he was pegged to be after 4 starts in 2025? And can Quinn Priester and Jose Quintana and those guys kind of hold their own? That'll be a big question, I think, because the Dodgers have so much pitching depth now that all their pitchers are coming back off the injured list. So that'll be interesting. It's going to be Cubs-Dodgers. The Dodgers obviously handled the Phillies kind of. Game 4, the Phillies, Christopher Sanchez goes 7 strong innings, and you get 1 run. You score 1 run for him. They didn't deserve to win that game, and it sucks the way it ended for them and how it ended, but you got to score more than 1 run to win a game, and with their offense, and they just didn't perform. And now Schwarber's a free agent, Ranger Suarez is a free agent, and there's some big questions as to Zach Wheeler's getting up there in age, Bryce Harper's getting up there in age, Romuto's a free agent, so there's some major questions with the Phillies going forward. And the Yankees just got demolished by the Blue Jays. Probably should have been a sweep. The Blue Jays were tremendous in that series offensively, and even in pitching-wise, too, at times. And the Yankees, Game 3, and the Blue Jays are up 6-1 or 6-2. And the Yankees were fortunate. You got to credit Judge. Judge, it was not because of Judge the Yankees lost that series at all. He was excellent. He was tremendous. That huge homer off the foul pole to get the Yankees that win in Game 3, but the Blue Jays are just too much offensively. The Yankees pitching, not having Garrett Cole really hurt. What are you going to do? And so now there's kind of another offseason for the Yankees as to how they improve this team to compete for a World Series. So those are the games. Those are the series in the NL and ALDSs. Now we got Tigers, Mariners, and Brewers, Dodgers. Both those games will be on tonight as well. Mariners are already won Game 1 thanks to Cal Raleigh and Jorge Polanco. Cal Raleigh he just crushed a homer against the Blue Jays. And the Blue Jays had the George Springer solo homer and then had 1 hit the rest of the game. So we'll see. It's not going to get any easier for the Blue Jays with Brian Wu pitching, with Luis Castillo coming up, with Logan Gilbert. The Mariners got a great rotation. And so we're really going to see if the Blue Jays can match that pitching-wise, and if some of these hitters that stepped up against the Yankees can step up against the Mariners, because the Mariners pitching is just a different animal than the Yankees. They can go 1 through 6 really, and they got great pitching. So that'll be a question for the Blue Jays. They get 1 more game at home before it goes to Seattle. As for the Dodgers Brewers, I think that's going to be in Milwaukee to start, and that'll be compelling. It'll be a compelling series because the Dodgers, everybody slept on them. And they said, don't be sleeping on us. We are the defending World Series champions. And they just perform really well against the Phillies. They're pitching. Glasnow, Snell. You got Sasaki coming out of the pen and dominating. It's going to be tough for the Brewers to win this series, I think. They still match up great against the Dodgers. They got pesky hitters, but can they stack up with that elite starting pitching and that velocity? I don't know. But definitely pulling for the Brewers to play well because it's a great story this year. Pat Murphy is a great guy, and what a job he's done this season as manager. So it'll be very compelling. I don't know if it's the NL and ALCS as people drew up. I thought it was going to be Phillies, Brewers, and Mariners, Yankees. So I got 2 of them right. But I got half of it right. But, it's just been kind of crazy. MLB playoffs, you never know what you're going to get. Your team's got to be playing with confidence, and they got to have some momentum, it seems. And the Mariners had a bunch of momentum going into the playoffs, and we'll see if they can advance. But that should be both series should be pretty good. It's just, can the Brewers get over the hump and make it to the World Series this season? I don't know. You'd love to see it for them, for their city, but it's going to be a tough ask. So those are things I'm watching, and everybody's watching. I think these are going to be great playoffs. You should tune in. Tonight, Bills, Falcons, and Bears, Commanders. I actually have the Bears beating the Commanders tonight. It's my upset pick of the week. last year, obviously, the Commanders went on the Hail Mary. And I think the Bears know that, and they got a bad taste in their mouth from that. I think they're going to come up fire. That's the only reason I'm picking the Bears, because what happened last year. But maybe it's short-sighted. I think the Commanders are really good, and now Jane Daniels is back. So I have the Bills winning. I just think they're not going to lose 2 in a row here. Falcons they're not trustworthy to pick them consistently. So that's what I got tonight. Those should be some interesting games, though. And like I said, Mariners, Blue Jays at 5, and I think Dodgers, Brewers at 8. So thank you all for listening. Hope you have a great week. A little cooler this week, getting into some fall weather here. So hopefully everybody has a great week. And thank you for tuning in. Sports Scuba, Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM.